Oh, hey there. I, Sam Valentino, private toon detective, have been doing a bit more sleuthing about Warner Brothers Discovery's future. Especially since After Apocalypse wrapped up a while ago. To start off, they're still debating whether they should split the Warner Brothers Studios and Discovery Global as originally planned, or go ahead and be bought out and or merged with someone else, and will come out with a decision around Christmastime. Additionally, I'm hearing that of all the companies, Comcast, the owner of NBCUniversal, is starting to take more action and exploring a bid to buy them. As I said, Comcast buying Warner Brothers would actually have more pros than cons compared to Netflix or Paramount-Skydance. For one thing, they already collaborate on studio distribution services, which is their joint venture for releasing physical media, not just from their respective studios, but they've also assumed home distribution for Sony and for the Walt Disney Company last year. This is what made releasing the complete Rankin Bass Christmas Collection DVD and Blu-ray sets a couple years ago possible, as Comcast-Universal owns the pre-1974 Rankin Bass library from Classic Media, while Warner Brothers owns the 1974 to 87 Rankin Bass library. Not just holiday specials, but also movies like The Hobbit and TV shows like Thundercats and Silverhawks. Also, I remember Universal not doing a lot with their classic cartoon libraries, but nowhere as bad as Paramount often did with the Terry Toons or their 60s Paramount Cartoon Studio shorts, despite them not airing on TV for decades. At least Universal still remastered the Walter Lantz cartoon shorts and released a good chunk of them on DVD. Just a couple years ago, they struck that deal with Regional Broadcasting to run the Walter Lantz shorts on MeTV. And then, of course, in addition to those shorts being on MeTV Toons, they've also got some of the classic media assets like Underdog and the Harvey Toons from famous studios. Should this merger come into fruition, maybe it means we'll get a legal release of the infamous 1972 Filmation crossover special Daffy, Duck, and Porky Pig Meet the Groovie Goolies. As corny as that special is, it'd be interesting to see remastered in some way. But I think Warner Brothers seems to have some kind of full ownership in it. Years ago, the channel owner attempted to upload and re-edited a special fixing Daffy, Porky, and Tweety's voices, but Warner Brothers blocked it. You could see this edit on Google Drive via a link in the video description. But to go into details on this apparent buyout, nothing's definite yet. Well, Comcast hired the banking firm that helped the Paramount and Skydance merger be a success last year, and they've gotten access to Warner Brothers' financial reports. Additionally, should this happen, Comcast would only be interested in the Warner Brothers studio and library and streaming assets, which is pretty much what we will get from the Warner Bros. Discovery split that was also announced to be in the works months ago. So this unfortunately means Comcast wouldn't end up owning Cartoon Network or Boomerang anyways, especially since for a long time their Xfinity cable systems never even carry Boomerang, and this is a huge contributor to only a small percentage of the American population getting that cable channel, which of course contributed to the Looney Tunes downfall of the 2000s. But that's old news anyway. Speaking of which, Comcast is already in the process of spinning off the cable networks they own into another company called Versant, as I mentioned before. And this would include the USA Network, MSNBC, Oxygen, the Sci-Fi Channel, the Golf Channel, and E! Entertainment Television. And I'm still showing some concern over the idea of Comcast buying Warner Brothers and what it could mean to the animation department. Because Comcast already owns DreamWorks Animation, and they own Illumination through Universal Studios, but at least they keep those two studios and franchises separate. So maybe they'll also do the same with Warner Brothers Animation. But then there's the concern they may overlook the Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, and the other MGM Legacy cartoon characters, and the Hanna-Barbera stuff, in favor of all those annoying and gross new franchises like Shrek, The Trolls, Despicable Me and its Minions, etc. Since that is what they indeed do compared to the legacy animation properties Universal currently owns. I also remember when Classic Media was bought out by DreamWorks Animation in 2012, in hopes to start adapting nearly all those properties to new animated movies. Until after the Mr. Peabody and Sherman movie bombed at the box office during DreamWorks' slump of the 2010s. And then 2 years later, Comcast bought out DreamWorks Animation. And eventually, after sitting on those properties for a while, by the end of the 2010s, DreamWorks removed the name for that division and it went back to being called Classic Media, but still remained under ownership by Comcast and Universal. If anything, that ended up expanding Comcast's legacy animation library even more, and kind of for the better, since Classic Media owns the Harvey Toon stuff and the Filmation and Total Television and pre-1974 Rankin Bass libraries, as I've already stated. But they also own the UPA TV properties of the 60s and 70s. Even the Patty Freeling Enterprises produced What's New, Mr. Magoo for 1977. But again, there's also the possibility with Universal using the just acquired Warner Bros. Properties to implement into their theme park resorts. I talked about how in the early 1990s, Universal Studios Orlando was looking to get theme park rights to create a Looney Tunes land for their Islands of Adventure Park, along with a DC Comics themed superhero land. But those ended up not going very far past the concept stages. But should this merger happen, we could see those plans revived. After all, Universal's theme park rights to the Marvel Comics franchises and The Simpsons will soon expire, especially after Disney bought those out, roughly 10 years apart. Also, in the wake of Universal distributing Jetsons the movie in 1990, the Universal Studios Orlando Park had a Hanna-Barbera-themed motion simulator ride upon opening in 1990. The Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera, which remained in operation until 2002. Also, as I said, Scooby-Doo and his human pals also appear as meetable characters at the Universal parks, having done so since the early 1990s. Believe it or not, when Great American Broadcasting put Hanna-Barbera up for sale at that time, Universal, an MCA company at that time, was expressing interest in buying the studio and library with more theme park and theatrical movie ideas in mind. But Turner Broadcasting beat him to the punch. Additionally, Hallmark Cards and even the Walt Disney Company were interested in purchasing Hanna-Barbera at the time. And I can safely say we dodged a bullet with those two, especially after seeing what Hallmark did to the Filmation library masters. Didn't stop this channel creator, i.e. me, from making that hilarious Robin Hood YouTube poop making fun of the animation cutbacks and calling it Disney buys out Hanna-Barbera. But putting that aside, even if at this year's For Apocalypse I was referred to as the Detective Fox makes YouTube poops, the thing is, such a buyout is not definite yet. While Comcast Universal is indeed already in the process of preparing a bid to buy the Warner Bros. Streaming and Studios half, while Warner and Discovery Global are also looking to plan their split, exploring whether doing that or allowing themselves to be bought out. With Comcast, like I said, there would be more pros and less cons compared to Netflix or Paramount-Skydance, but some of it still wouldn't be good. Also, Apple and Amazon are supposedly still interested, and they both also only want the Warner Bros. Studio and streaming half of the impending split, and they would leave the existing management positions at Warner Bros. Intact. With these two, I could see them being ways to expand their streaming libraries, and Apple to get into the theatrical movie business. Sure, Amazon does currently have MGM, but they haven't been doing much of it, unfortunately. And with Warner Bros., they don't want to repeat that mistake. And speaking of repeat, I'm repeating what I said earlier in this vlog, that Warner Bros. Discovery will come up with their final decision later in December, around Christmastime. But as long as Paramount, Skydance, and Netflix stay out of the picture, then I won't have much to worry about. Ideally, if such a merger or buyout isn't feasible, they can still do the Warner Bros. And Discovery Global split as originally planned, and nothing of value would be lost. So I may as well kick back and hope for the best. As you all stay tuned to this channel for any further updates on this from me and my toon friends.